Hello, everybody. My name is Roger, and welcome to the database team 16.7 planning. With me today is Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Alex is our team's engineering manager. And today we're going to go through some of the top priorities for 16.7. I will fix this later. So the database team in general is concerned with helping GitLab scale both on SaaS and self-managed. And to do that, we're looking at several limiting factors that are causing either short-term or long-term risk to our ability to continue to onboard more customers and serve up more features. And so that's kind of where our top priorities are. The first one we've been working on for a little while now. It's called lightweight lock contention. And Alex, do you want us to give us a quick overview for why this is a problem?
Lightweight locks, if we take too many of them, we run out of them. I don't know. Queries wait on them, and it's a bottleneck. So we're trying to reduce the number of lightweight locks we take.
And one of the ways that I think we spent some time investigating to do this was to drop a bunch of unused indices, because I believe the reason this comes up is basically related to the number of indices that happen. And so when we started investigating, I think this was something that was hard for Parallelize, but now that we're at a point of having identified some discrete action items, this is something we're starting to parallelize with a few folks across the team, and we think we'll make reasonably good progress in the next little while.
Yeah, we've already made some substantial progress on this. The first table we focused on namespaces. We've now dropped 9 out of the originally identified 10 indexes that we wanted to drop. One of them we couldn't drop, but the other 9 are or will be dropped for GitLab.com. And the code for those drops is all merged. So, and we've started working on the users and projects table.
And then also, just because I think this question will probably come up for some other viewers, in terms of just making sure we long-term mitigate this, we also have our database review system in place to make sure we don't introduce additional underutilized or just straight up unused indices in the future.
Yeah, we also have 2 other efforts that we're working on that we think will help us with this lightweight lock contention, including caching plans for primary key lookups. And we think that effort in particular could solve this a little more holistically, rather than having to target individual indexes for dropping. We think that'll buy us a lot of headroom for this permanently, rather than having to worry about where indexes may crop up again in the future.
Cool. And then Alex, you mentioned there was a second thing. Was that the vertical?
Yeah, the other option we're looking at is vertical table splits. I don't think we're going to end up doing any vertical table splits, but we're developing a pattern for that. And we think that'll also, having the pattern in place, we think will also help us with one of our later notes, the wall rate reduction effort.
Cool. Well, let's skip ahead then. So I think the other one we wanted to tackle here was our overall table size reduction effort. I think this is a theme that we've been looking at for some time, and it definitely requires support from a lot of other teams across GitLab. I think this quarter, we've been leveraging our OKR process to help get this prioritized across teams, and I think it's been quite successful. I think we are currently focusing with create and verify specifically for the merge request diff tables, and also CI partitioning has a whole bunch of things up there. I don't think there's too much new stuff to add, except in general, the problem is big tables, everything is slower. Taking a big table, breaking it up makes everything a little bit more approachable. These are definitely long-term work streams though. And even though they're scheduled for 16.7, we know both on our side and for our counterpart teams, these will likely continue on for at least several more milestones.
Yeah, some good news there. A recent borrow request went through, so the CI partitioning effort just got a bunch more resources, and so we're still performing stable counterpart role, where mainly it's reviews for the partitioning merge request diff tables. That also has some good news, which is the main helpers that we needed are merged, and so we're now just working with that team for them. So that team is going to start using the helpers that we provided for them to do the partitioning there. Really, really very exciting. So
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a hurry up and wait, as I understand it, just in terms of the amount of data we need to move. But I think it's important that we get the data moving sooner than later, because either way, we're going to have to wait some prolonged period of time.
yeah, for all of these tables, they're so big. We are going to have to, but we are going to have to do some migrations where we move the data into new tables, because just the nature of the partitioning that we're doing requires that. And so it's definitely going to be a little while before we see all that data moved. But yeah, we're hopeful that this will solve things. They're also using this to aid. They're actually using those same migrations to aid the backfill effort as a part of organizations. So we realized that if we're going to iterate a bunch of these tables, we should make sure that we're only doing it once and adding the organization support columns at the same time.
Nice. Awesome. And on the topic of moving large amounts of data, our third priority for this month is wall rate reduction. This is a upcoming and recent contention point for us that we started looking at. So there currently isn't too much of a plan of action yet. So I think there's some investigation and some early hypotheses that we're still working through. Alex, do you want to dive in a little bit on this one?
Yeah, so while the write ahead log is our primary method of replication for our database cluster, right? And when the wall rate is very high, our replicas fall behind, and this has caused outages before. So we've got a couple of plans already in place where we're going to try and that we think can maybe help. So Simon's talked about this a little bit below. Basically, adding more mechanisms to tolerate replication lag so that we can keep the site running even if the lag gets excessive. And then we're also looking into figuring out how, like, which tables are generating the most wall metrics and working with those teams to fix that so that they're not generating quite so much. There's a recent incident sort of related to this, but also related to lightweight lock contention. So it was fun times.
Definitely coming up on a lot of limiting factors in these recent days. Cool. And then lastly, we do have one secondary focus item here that we're kind of working through at a slower pace with less high priority. And this also relates to mitigating the impact from a previous incident, just making sure migrations can run in milestone order. I think this is something we actually covered the last couple kickoff videos, so I don't think we need to go too much into detail here. But Alex, do you just want to give us maybe a quick summary update? Yeah.
This is getting pretty close. So we just went through and closed a bunch of issues in here, all related to just a couple of merge requests. And so we've now got milestones on migration classes, and we've just got it's just a little bit more to do. So we're working on testing as kind of our big focus right now, because migrations are a central component of Rails. Changing how they operate meant patching Rails. So as a result of that, we want to be super, super careful about how we test it. And so that's going a little bit slow, but also as a secondary focus item, John is also working on John and Kraus have been working on this, but they're working on dropping indexes. So and other high priority items too. So it's kind of backburnered a little bit, but we're hoping to get all of this resolved in the next milestone.
Nice. Yeah. And I think ultimately it's a bit slow because it's careful, finicky work, but at the end of the day, we're doing this to fix an incident. So we just want to make sure we don't cause an incident trying to fix an incident.
More customer incidents than it's this will benefit our self-managed customers when they jump multiple milestones, leaving them making sure we can leave them compatible with a single a version of GitLab if something goes wrong, rather than the current state, which is with the migrations jumbled up, they may or may not be compatible with any given version in between that jump. So we'd like to provide not only this tool that will help them migrate more safely, but also we'll provide them a function where they can check what version they're compatible with and can downgrade to that version without having to roll back migrations.
Definitely also a lot of opportunities to streamline and mitigate support confusion from some of the distribution side of getting people to upgrade and skipping versions and all of those
Yeah,
problems.
and downgrading has been a pretty consistent request from customers, and it's the way we write migrations is makes this downgrading very, very difficult, just because we have certain kinds of migrations that are not written to be reversible because the overhead would be too high. So making sure that if they have a failure, they aren't left in a broken state is really what we're aiming for here.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Alex. I think this has been a great summary, and this is database team 16.7 kickoff.